What if I told you that most cars don't fail because they're poorly built, but because owners follow the wrong advice without even realizing it? Industry data shows that over 80% of cars never make it past 150,000 miles, but some cars easily go beyond 400,000 miles. So what's the difference? It's not luck, it's habits. Today, I'm going to share 15 mechanic-approved habits that can add years to your car's life. And make sure you don't skip number 5. It helps prevent one of the most expensive repairs most drivers ever face. Let's get started. Secret number 1, first click, full stop. Fuel pump topping off the gas tank may feel harmless, you're just rounding up the dollar amount. But this is actually one of the fastest ways to cause emissions problems in modern vehicles. When you force fuel in after the pump clicks off, liquid gasoline floods the EVAP system, especially the charcoal canister. This canister is designed to trap fuel vapors, not liquid fuel. Once soaked, the canister breaks down internally. Charcoal pellets can get pulled into valves and lines, causing rough idle hard starts. Fuel smells. Random check engine lights. EPA guidance shows that repeated overfilling is a leading cause of early EVAP system failure, especially in hot climates where fuel expands. Here's the kicker: manufacturers often deny warranty coverage for EVAP damage caused by overfilling. It's considered driver error. Repairs can run $400 to $1,200, depending on how much damage occurs. The rule is simple and free. When the pump clicks the first time, stop. Don't top off. Let the system breathe. Small maintenance habits like this are what keep a car running strong for years instead of wearing out early. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more practical car care tips, and drop a comment sharing your car's mileage. And before you go, check out our next video on proven habits that make your car run like new. Secret number 2, smart transmission fluid strategy. Gear lifetime transmission fluid is one of the most expensive myths ever sold to drivers. In reality, fluid doesn't last forever. It breaks down from heat. Automatic transmissions work best around 175 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. For every 20 degrees Fahrenheit increase, transmission fluid life is cut in half. That heat slowly destroys lubrication, hardens seals, and weakens clutch packs long before drivers notice anything wrong. Transmission specialists say over 60% of transmission failures happen because fluid becomes degraded or overheated, not because of mechanical defects. The damage builds quietly until slipping, harsh shifts, or total failure suddenly appears. At that point, repairs can cost $3,000 to $5,000. The smart strategy is simple: replace transmission fluid every 30,000 to 50,000 miles, especially if you drive in traffic, tow, live in hot climates, or do lots of short trips. All considered severe duty conditions, even if your manual doesn't say so. One warning: avoid aggressive power flushes on neglected transmissions. Gentle drain and fill services are safer and preserve internal seals. A fluid service usually costs $150 to $300, a fraction of a rebuild. Protect your transmission early. The next habit shows how common fueling mistakes quietly hurt engine performance long before any warning lights appear. Secret number 3, oil isn't marketing. Oil drum. Most drivers trust the oil change interval printed in the owner's manual. That's the mistake. Those numbers are based on ideal conditions: steady highway driving, mild climates, and clean environments. Real-world driving is nothing like that. Short trips, stop-and-go traffic, heat, dust, and cold starts break oil down much faster than mileage suggests. A AAA study found that extended oil change intervals can increase internal engine wear by up to 40%, especially in cars driven in heavy traffic or hot climates. That wear shows up as timing chain stretch, bearing damage, oil consumption, sludge buildup. Repairs can cost $2,000 to $6,000 once these problems appear. The habit is simple and inexpensive. Change oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, based on how you drive, not what marketing says. Use the correct viscosity for your climate. Replace the oil filter every time. A quality oil change costs $60 to $100. Cheap insurance for the most expensive system in your car. Get this right, and everything else lasts longer. Miss it, and no other habit can save your engine. That's the difference between a car that fades early and one that quietly reaches 300,000 miles and beyond. Get oil right, and the engine survives. But there's another fluid most drivers are told never to touch, and ignoring it quietly destroys transmissions long before any warning signs appear. Secret number 4, the quarter tank rule. Fuel pump. Most drivers don't realize it, but the fuel pump lives in one of the harshest environments in your car. It relies on gasoline for cooling and lubrication. When you drive below a quarter tank regularly, cooling disappears, pump temperatures rise, internal components strain, where accelerates long before any warning signs appear. Industry teardown studies show that fuel pumps exposed to frequent low fuel operation can run 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit hotter, which shortens their lifespan. Heat isn't the only problem. Low fuel also allows sediment at the bottom of the tank to get sucked into the system, stressing the pump and clogging injectors. The result? Sluggish acceleration, hesitation, and poor fuel delivery. Quietly. The secret is simple and costs nothing: keep your fuel level above 1/4 whenever possible. This small buffer keeps the pump submerged, temperatures stable, and debris settled safely at the bottom of the tank. Ignore this rule, and a failing pump can leave you stranded. Repairs typically cost $600 to $1,200. Follow it, and fuel pumps often last the life of the vehicle. And now comes the most misunderstood habit of all, the one nearly every driver thinks they're doing right. Secret number 5: spark quality wins. High voltage spark plugs may look simple, which is why they're often ignored or replaced with the cheapest option. But modern engines fire their plugs thousands of times per minute, and even a small drop in spark quality can disrupt the entire combustion process. Weak or inconsistent spark causes rough idle, reduced power, higher fuel consumption. Industry testing shows that worn or low-quality spark plugs can reduce fuel economy by up to 30%. They also increase engine misfires. Misfires dump unburned fuel into the exhaust, which overheats the catalytic converter. Repairs escalate fast after that. Replacing spark plugs, $60 to $150. Replacing a failed catalytic converter, $1,000 to $2,500. The secret is simple: use OEM-grade or iridium plugs and replace them at the recommended interval. Quality plugs keep spark consistent, combustion efficient, and protect coils and emissions components from overload. Drivers who stay ahead of ignition health report smoother idle, stronger acceleration, and better MPG almost immediately. Cut corners here, and the engine quietly pays the price. And while spark keeps combustion clean, the next habit protects a component that relies on fuel itself to survive. Secret number 6: fuel flow matters. Fuel filters don't fail suddenly. They slowly clog over time. Rust and dirt from the fuel tank collect in the filter as miles add up, blocking fuel flow. The engine still runs, so most drivers don't notice anything at first. But when you need power, climbing hills, merging onto highways, or accelerating hard, the engine may hesitate, stumble, or feel weak because it isn't getting enough fuel. Industry service data shows that restricted fuel filters often cause premature fuel pump failure. The pump has to work harder and hotter to push fuel through a clogged filter. Once the pump overheats, failure is not far behind. Replacing a fuel filter typically costs $30 to $80, while a fuel pump can run $600 to $1,200 depending on the vehicle. The habit is simple: replace the fuel filter every 30,000 to 50,000 miles. If you drive in dusty areas or have an older car, early signs include hesitation during sustained acceleration. Stay ahead of fuel restriction, and your engine will run cooler, smoother, and stronger. Ignore it, and you'll feel the power loss long before the pump finally fails. If you're still watching, you're already ahead of most drivers, which means you actually care about keeping your car alive past the warranty. Hit like so this reaches other drivers who need it, and subscribe for more real-world fixes. Secret number 7: pause before shifting. This habit quietly ruins transmissions, and almost everyone does it without thinking. Shifting from reverse to drive or drive to reverse before the car fully stops sends a shock load straight through the transmission. Inside, clutch packs slam together, fluid pressure spikes, and internal components take stress they weren't designed for. Data from major repair shops shows that shock loading from poor shifting habits causes over 40% of early automatic transmission failures, not manufacturing defects. The damage doesn't happen all at once. It builds shift by shift, day after day. The fix costs nothing and takes just 1 second. Come to a complete stop, pause briefly, then shift. That short pause lets hydraulic pressure stabilize and rotating components fully stop before changing direction. It dramatically reduces wear on clutch packs, gear sets, and the parking mechanism. Ignore this habit, and you could face slipping, harsh shifts, or total transmission failure, repairs that often run $3,000 to $5,000. Follow it, and many transmissions quietly pass 300,000 miles without major work. And while good shifting habits protect your gearbox, the next secret protects your engine's fuel delivery system. Secret number 8. How to park without damaging your transmission. Most drivers think just shifting into park is enough to secure the car. It's not. Inside your transmission is a small metal piece called the parking pawl. Many drivers unknowingly force it to hold the entire weight of the vehicle, especially on hills. Over time, that constant stress wears down the pawl and its locking gear. Transmission specialists report that damage from this is a common cause of hard-to-shift issues and sudden transmission lockups, especially for cars parked on inclines every day. When it fails, repairs usually cost $900 to $1,500, because part of the transmission has to be taken apart. The simple fix? It costs nothing. Come to a complete stop. Keep your foot on the brake. Engage the parking brake first, then shift into park. This way, the weight of the vehicle is held by the brakes, not the transmission. When leaving, reverse the order, shift out of park first, then release the parking brake. Drivers who follow this habit reduce drivetrain stress and can extend transmission life well past 200,000 miles. Ignore it, and you'll feel the damage every time the shifter fights back. And remember, while parking habits matter, what you do in that split second before shifting can quietly decide how long your transmission survives. Secret number 9. Heat wears brakes. Most drivers think brakes wear out because of mileage. They don't. Brakes wear out because of heat spikes. Every last second stop, steep downhill, or emergency slam makes rotor temperatures soar. Over time, this warps rotors, glazes brake pads, and cracks friction material. Consumer Reports shows that drivers who brake hard and late replace pads up to 40% sooner and rotors nearly twice as often. The real enemy isn't mileage, it's heat, not stopping power. The fix? It costs nothing. Lift off the accelerator a little earlier. Let the car coast for a few extra seconds. Apply the brakes gradually instead of slamming them all at once. This keeps rotor temperatures more stable and spreads heat over time, instead of shocking the system. Hybrids show how well this works. Their brakes often last over 100,000 miles because regenerative braking reduces heat spikes. Ignore this habit, and you could be replacing pads and rotors every 30 to 40,000 miles, costing $400 to $900 per axle. Drive smarter, and that money stays in your pocket. And remember, how you stop is only half the story. The way you park can quietly destroy something even more expensive. Secret number 10. Brake fluid isn't forever. Brake fluid is one of the most overlooked fluids in any car. Why? Because it rarely looks dirty, and that's the trap. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture from the air every day it's in the system. Over time, this moisture lowers the fluid's boiling point and slowly corrodes internal components you can't see. Industry testing shows that in just 2 to 3 years, brake fluid can absorb enough water to cause real problems. During hard braking or long downhill drives, the boiling point can drop so much that the fluid actually starts to boil, creating vapor pockets. The brake pedal might feel normal, until suddenly it doesn't. At the same time, trapped moisture slowly damages ABS valves and pumps from the inside. When these parts fail, repair bills can easily run $900 to $1,500. The good news? The fix is simple and inexpensive. A full brake fluid flush every 2 to 3 years restores the boiling point, protects the ABS system, and keeps your pedal feeling firm and predictable. Most shops charge $90 to $150 for this service. Skip it, and you risk losing braking performance when you need it the most. Because the next habit isn't about stopping at all, it's about how heat quietly destroys another critical system. Secret number 11. Idling isn't a proper warm-up. For years, drivers were told to let a cold engine idle for a few minutes before driving. It sounds responsible, it feels safe. But in modern engines, this habit actually works against you. Long idling keeps the engine cold, floods the cylinders with extra fuel, and washes the protective oil off the cylinder walls. It even thins the oil in the crankcase right where engine wear starts. By the time you finally start driving, damage has already begun. Data from the U.S. Department of Energy shows that extended idling increases engine wear, wastes fuel, and delays proper warm-up. Over time, this leads to problems like stretched timing chains, stuck piston rings, and higher oil consumption, repairs that can cost $1,500 to $4,000. The smarter routine costs nothing. Start the engine. Wait 20 to 30 seconds for oil pressure to stabilize. Drive gently. Keep RPMs low until the temperature gauge starts moving. Drivers who follow this simple habit report smoother cold starts, quieter operation, and better fuel economy. And before we move on, if these tips are helping you protect your car, take a second to hit the like button and subscribe, because the next habits are some of the biggest money-saving tips most drivers completely overlook. Secret number 12, the hidden power of carbon buildup. Modern engines don't usually lose power in a dramatic way. They lose it slowly and quietly. This is especially true for direct injection engines. In these engines, fuel no longer washes over the intake valves. Because of that, carbon starts building up exactly where airflow matters most. There's no warning light. No sudden breakdown. Just a gradual loss of power, rough idling, and worse fuel economy, which many drivers simply blame on age. Testing has shown that gasoline direct injection (GDI) engines can lose up to 10% of their power and efficiency by around 50,000 miles due to carbon buildup alone. As the deposits grow thicker, airflow becomes restricted and combustion becomes less efficient. If ignored, this can lead to more misfires, higher exhaust temperatures, and faster wear on valves and turbo components. The good news? The fix is much cheaper than the damage. A proper intake or valve cleaning every 40,000 to 60,000 miles, either with a chemical treatment or walnut blasting, usually costs a few $100s. Ignore it for too long, and the problems can pile up: burned valves, injector issues, and serious drivability problems that can cost thousands to repair. Drivers who clean their intake system regularly often notice smoother idling and better throttle response almost immediately. But even if your valves are clean, there's another daily habit that quietly causes wear before you even leave your driveway. Because idling is not the warm-up most drivers think it is. Secret number 13, vibration is a warning sign. If your car vibrates, shakes while idling, or makes a clunk sound when shifting, many drivers think it's just normal wear and tear. It's not. In most cases, those vibrations come from worn engine or transmission mounts. These mounts are made to absorb movement and keep the engine stable. When they wear out, the engine doesn't move smoothly, it jerks or slams into place. That means every start, gear change, and acceleration sends extra shock through important parts like the axles, exhaust system, coolant hoses, and even the transmission. Over time, that extra stress adds up. It can lead to faster wear on CV joints, cracked exhaust parts, and transmission alignment problems. The good news? You don't need special tools to check for this. With your foot on the brake, shift from park to drive, then into reverse. If the engine jumps noticeably, the cabin shakes, or you feel a dull clunk, the mounts may be failing. Too much engine movement is a clear warning sign. Replace the mounts early, and everything goes back into proper alignment. Ignore it, and today's small vibration can turn into a very expensive repair later. And even when your car feels perfectly smooth, modern engines still face another hidden problem, one that slowly damages them from the inside. Secret number 14, the truth about throttle resets. When your throttle feels slow, the idle becomes rough, or the shifts feel strange, most drivers think something mechanical is going bad. But in many cases, that's not true. Modern cars don't just run, they learn. The throttle position, idle control, airflow, and even shift timing all adjust based on how you drive. Over time, that learned data can move away from the ideal settings. Things like replacing the battery, jump-starting the car, sitting in heavy traffic, or constant stop-and-go driving can confuse the system. As a result, the engine may feel weak, slow to respond, or inconsistent even though nothing is actually broken. It's simply reacting to bad information it learned over time. A throttle and ECU relearn can reset those bad habits and allow the system to start fresh. Most modern brands, like Toyota, Honda, Ford, BMW, and Nissan, respond well to this reset. The process is usually simple. Turn the ignition on and off as required. Press and hold the accelerator pedal according to your vehicle's instructions. Then let the engine idle without touching anything while it recalibrates. It only takes a couple of minutes. Afterward, you may notice a smoother idle, faster throttle response, and more consistent shifting without replacing a single part. Dealerships often suggest running diagnostics for these symptoms. But many times, the issue isn't a failed part, it's just confused software. And if the engine still shakes after the reset, then the problem is no longer electronic. It's mechanical. Secret number 15, bad voltage can trick you. Sometimes your car feels completely broken, even when nothing is actually wrong. Warning lights turn on and off. Electronics act strange. One mechanic blames the sensors. Another blames the ECU. A third says it's just an intermittent issue. But the real problem often gets ignored. Weak electrical grounds don't remove voltage, they distort it. When corrosion builds up or a ground connection becomes loose, sensors start sending incorrect readings. The control modules misread those signals, and the car begins reacting to problems that don't even exist. That's why electrical problems feel random. You might notice hard starts, flickering lights, rough or unstable idle, and trouble codes that change every time you scan the car. Many technicians say that a large number of mysterious electrical problems come from bad ground connections, not failed parts. Yet drivers often replace expensive sensors or control modules while chasing the wrong issue. The fix is usually simple and takes just a few minutes. Check the battery terminals, engine to chassis ground connections, and main ground straps. Clean off any corrosion, tighten loose connections, and replace damaged cables if needed. Most of the time, it costs very little to fix. Ignore it, and the voltage keeps causing confusion. Fix it early, and the car suddenly feels normal again. Because when voltage sends the wrong signals, everything connected to it gets